Well, I thought Joe Hockey put a whole new, different perspective on these things last night. Malcolm Turnbull and Joe Hockey and others are supporting the ETS legislation because we're trying to modernise the party. How you modernise any political party by putting at risk your nation's economic well-being, I have no idea. Let's go to Andrew Bolt from the Herald Sun newspaper in Melbourne, who thankfully has had some very, very pertinent things to say, and he's on the line. Andrew, good morning.
Alan, how are you?
Sorry about the phones. Our phones went down, so we were struggling to... we thought you were hanging on at the other end and everything collapsed here. To the vote yesterday, Andrew, the motion moved by Wilson Tuckey to have a new ballot for the leadership was lost, so it never got to a challenge. But given that, 35 votes on the other side's an awful lot.
It is an awful lot when people were saying that the challenger, Kevin Andrews, was in fact no challenger. It was actually 35 votes for anyone but Malcolm Turnbull. That said, I must say that while Kevin Andrews has been written off as no candidate whatsoever, it's just a joke, just a stalking horse, just an empty suit, I must say when I saw him on 7:30 Report last night, he came across as very, very calm and measured.
Yes, he was yesterday.
Far calmer and more measured than Malcolm Turnbull on this issue.
Yeah, I spoke to him yesterday morning. I thought he was most impressive. Now, Mr Rudd keeps telling us he was elected to act on climate change, that Australia is one of the hottest and driest continents on Earth, and a country that would be hardest hit and fastest by climate change, and a failure to act would be to roll the dice against our children's future.
Well, look, the whole thing is a massive fraud, because even if you accept that global warming is happening, but it actually stopped in 2001, even if you accept that it will harm the economy, the House of Lords inquiry into the economics of climate change doubted that, even if you accept anyway that we should do something, well, the rest of the world isn't, and even if you accept on top of that it was worth the extreme pain and we're going to cost billions of dollars and throw lots of Australians, including some of your listeners, out of work, even if you accept all those things, and there's so many steps to get to this point of lunacy, the mere fact is, Kevin Rudd's bill will not, his massive tax on emissions, will not change the world's temperature a jot, not a bit. I mean, you ask him, you ask Penny Wong, just how much will the world's temperature go down thanks to your massive tax on everything, and they will not give you an answer because the answer is zero. Now,
that's the point. I made this point. If you reduce the emissions by 5%, 15%, 50% or 100%, you'll achieve 4/5 of 5/8 of nothing.
Well, that's precisely right. And the whole thing is, why are we doing it? I mean, it's the greatest act of collective lunacy I've seen. I mean, people have written books about this, as you know, the collective madness, things like the South Sea bubble and the tulip bubble and all that. And we're going through another of those phases where no one, it's the emperor's new clothes. No one dares say in the political field, apart from now, some people now standing up, the emperor's got no clothes.
Let me tell you about some people standing up. Here we are in November. My board is on fire here. People are genuinely angry about all of this and increasingly are asking very significant questions. I mean, why is there no debate in the National Parliament about what's happened in relation to these leaked emails where scientists have fudged statistics? I mean, they've blocked the release of data, they've illegally destroyed data, they've tried to deceive reporters. I mean, why does the National Parliament not question the basis on what this rubbish is based?
But that's the whole lunacy of it. This is based on an IPCC report, that's a UN body, which has done most to do this, which is in turn fed by researchers who, a lot of whom are connected with or deal with a unit in Britain, the Climatic Research Unit, which has produced reports claiming that the world has never been warmer. That report's now been dodgy. These emails that have been leaked from this centre show that they colluded to exclude sceptical scientists. They colluded to get them sacked from science periodicals, so the research couldn't get published. They fudged their data. They even admitted that, and they privately admitted in notorious emails that they couldn't explain the fact that the world has cooled since 2001. They can't explain that.
And yet
now,
you and I...
The scientists themselves, Alan, this is the people that produce the scare.
Yeah, I mean, a co-author of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, which is Kevin Rudd's Bible, this trend birth, in an email to other members of the conspiracy said, the fact is we cannot account for the lack of warming at the moment, and it's a travesty that we can't.
Exactly. And then and there's other deep data that shows the head of this unit saying, oh, look, I've done a trick to hide the decline in temperatures, right? Then when skeptical scientists and others have FOI'd them for their information to check it, there's a whole series of emails saying, destroy the emails, destroy.
Yep.
Now, the whole thing is, when you look at Tim Flannery, right? The Australian of the year.
The alarmist of the year, yep.
The alarmist of the year 2 years ago.
Yep.
The bloke who's written The Weathermakers, the most prominent Australian whipping up the scare campaign, the bloke that said Sydney would run out of water a couple of years ago because of climate change, who said Brisbane would run out of water by last year, who said Adelaide would run out of water by this year, right? He's an alarmist, full-fledged alarmist, just appointed by Penny Wong to head our new coastal defenders unit, or whatever it's called, that she's just set up. Fully-fledged alarmist, confronted with these emails on TV, on ABC TV this week. Even he admitted he didn't understand the science anymore, that the models predicting runaway global warming, the real-world data was contradicting them, and they couldn't understand it.
Yes, he said, his quote words, Flannery, his exact words, quote, the computer modelling, and it's only modelling, it's not science, computer modelling, and the real-world data disagree. Now, through all of this, you are accused, and I am accused, of being part of some international conspiracy spreading lies about global warming, but when the emails demonstrate that there is a conspiracy to deceive the world, Kevin Rudd is silent.
Well, this is the most amazing thing, and you're absolutely right. Look, I'm saying Tim Flannery himself, the people who wrote the report, the IPCC report, on which Kevin Rudd himself has publicly said he relies. Those people themselves say the real-world data is disagreeing with the computer modelling that predicted runaway warming. They themselves privately have said, and now Tim Flannery publicly admits, and as you say, quote, Tim Flannery, sure, for the last 10 years we've gone through a slight cooling
period. Yes, that's right.
Hello, cooling.
That's what we said. We've gone through a slight cooling trend. The computer modelling, Flannery, and the real-world data disagree. But then you've got these co-authors. These people are the co-authors of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. Quote, one to the other. Where the heck is global warming? We're asking that here in Boulder, where we've broken records the past 2 days for the coldest days on record. The fact is we can't account for the lack of warming at the moment, and it's a travesty we can't. These are the authors of Kevin Rudd's Bible.
That bloke is the co-author of two IPCC. There's been 4 progressively ramping up the fear campaign. Here's the report of the last and a previous one. He's not some Johnny-come-lately, some guy in the backwoods, some, weird old scientist somewhere. He is a key author. And the point is this. He says in an email they can't account for the cooling. When publicly he won't admit that. And that's the thing. The truth is being hidden. It's right in the emails.
Now, in 2006, the United States House of Representatives Energy and Commerce Committee commissioned, did it not, and you have written about this, eminent statisticians to check one of the IPCC authors, Professor Michael Mann's famous hockey stick. Now, Mann's hockey stick was to demonstrate that, of course, the temperature had gone up and up and up. And they found, that committee did they not, that Mann's work was too flawed to be relied on, and there was now a, quote, clique of 43 climate scientists stifling true debate, and the United States House of Representatives Energy and Commerce Committee named Mann and this Professor Jones and this Keith Briffa, who were co-authors of these IPCC reports.
Well, look, the whole Mann hockey stick, the fiasco, should have been a warning. Michael Mann, as you say, is one of these people involved in this latest thing. He is an IPCC author, and this is the problem. This IPCC report, I repeat, Kevin Rudd says this is what he relies on. Mann was an author of this report. He smuggled in his own hockey stick, which, as you say, claimed falsely that the world's temperatures have been flat for a couple of thousand years and suddenly rising dramatically as caused